First hour of Weather Center Live here on the Weather Channel. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren.
And I'm meteorologist Jen Carfagno. And we have another active week in store for you. It's starting already yesterday, today. We've got a lot of dangerous, heavy rain causing flooding and some hail, too. Such tragic stories. And, you know, flooding is more dangerous than I think a lot of folks think. You look at the 30-year averages for fatalities due to weather, and flooding leads this list. Heat is number one, but when you look at flooding compared to lightning, compared to tornadoes, compared to hurricanes, on this list, flooding leads the list in the number of fatalities per year. So that's why we want to make sure you take this heavy rain and the flooding that it's causing very seriously. When you look at Dallas, and the rain is a good thing, right? We talk about the drought here. We need it, yes. Last year, we had 21 inches total for the year. We've had 21 inches already here in Dallas so far year to date. The concern is when you get this much rain in such a short period of time, you get flooding. So the ground is very saturated after the past week's worth of rain, more than a foot across essentially southern Texas, eastern Texas, parts of Louisiana, and we are concerned about the additional rain coming in. So flood watch is up. The National Weather Service have flood watches posted for parts of the Texas Panhandle up into Oklahoma. Some of the heaviest rain this morning has actually been in Colorado, and some places where we still have the flash flood warnings like Colorado Springs, Manitou Springs. Even though the heavy rain is out of the area, it takes a while for those floodwaters to sort of calm down. Now let's take a look at Amarillo. We've got some heavy rain coming in. We're also looking at more rain back into the picture here, not just today, but all the way through the end of the week. Likely to pick up another couple of inches worth of rainfall here easily, 3 to 5 inches in some of the local heavy spots. And we're watching cities to see if you're going to set your wettest May on record. Lubbock, you have a chance. We've had 7.2 already. The record to beat is 12.69, and we've got a wet stretch ahead of us in the southern plains. Chris, there is also the chance to look at what's going on for us. We do have the chance for storms, possible severe weather, Philly, New York, all the way up towards Albany, the capital district, maybe around Worcester as well. Right now, we've had some shower activity this morning. Again, a lot of fog sort of socking you in across places here from New York City down to Philadelphia, causing some headaches on your travel this morning. A lot of airport delays out there. But let's watch how things pan out later today. We do have this front working through the area, and we are going to be watching for some of those scattered thunderstorms coming in later this afternoon. So you can see that speckly look out here to our forecast radar. These are the ones that could bring some gusty winds or maybe some small hail to this area by later this afternoon. Could be around rush hour, guys, so heads up for that. Any of these could put down some heavy rain as well and really slow things down on the roadways. The key is how much heating do we get out there today? That's going to be the key. If you get some sunshine and that heats things up, that'll add to the instability there in terms of the widespread concerns.
Yeah, it certainly did. And here's a look at the different hail sizes and what it takes to get that hail. And you can see down here the miles per hour, so how fast the air needs to be rising. Kind of like in the lottery, the ball bouncing around, it's suspended in the air. Hailstones are very similar with that rising air.
And when you have a supercell, like we were talking about in the Pecos area, you know, the hail sort of spinning around and spends a little more time up there in that thunderstorm cloud. So let's talk about how hail forms. You need an updraft. You need air rising into the thunderstorm that is strong. In some cases, the updrafts can exceed 100 miles per hour.
And once you have that within the cloud itself, you have these very tiny raindrops or water droplets with the updraft carrying it up there, and that liquid starts to accumulate, starts to freeze on contact to the hailstone. Yeah,
you go in the area where temperatures are below freezing, you get super cool droplets, and eventually, you know, they either start sticking together or they grow in layers as additional super cooled droplets either connect or you get additional water that freezes on them.
And when you talk about super cool, I mean, this is water that can exist below freezing.
Right,
just hasn't turned into an ice crystal yet until it touches something, and that something is a hailstone.
All right, so eventually the hailstone gets too heavy, the updraft cannot sustain it any longer, and it falls.
It gets tossed out, or it goes down through
I mean, it doesn't often fall. It gets windblown, swept out of it, right?
Gets windblown out, and it's, you know, it's all crazy up there, and it'll get thrown around.
So largest hailstone ever, 8 inches in diameter, at least that's what we have on record. And to get that, you would have to have an updraft in excess of 150 miles per hour.
And they're not always perfectly circular either.
No,
they can be
usually
different
jagged.
shaped. Yeah,
but the cool thing is, when you slice open a hailstone, they usually have like those rings, like you'd see inside a tree, like in a tree, right? Because of the layered growth pattern that it has. All right, so you're probably not going to collect hail and slice it open. You're probably going to be worried about your car. And today in the Northeast, we have that chance. A couple of thunderstorms are possible with hail or gusty winds later this afternoon.
Yeah, and some of those storms could be strong. That's why we are watching this. But again here, in Texas, where we have been watching storm after storm. You're in it again. The threat for more storms again today.
All right, so then the other risk, of course, is going to be that tornado risk. And we've got our Torcons out here, a 3 in northwestern Texas. You know, very similar situation to yesterday. An upper level low coming in. There is going to be that risk for supercell thunderstorms again today. And again, hail, damaging winds, but also that tornado risk of a 3 on the Torcon for today. All right, so what's happening in the Midwest, Chris? It's kind of cold this
morning. In fact, let's go ahead.
Mid-May, 71 the average high in Chicago right now. Here we go, 54 today, only 50 tomorrow, and then we do warm up by the end of the week. But what's happening in the Midwest? That's what you're asking this morning. What happened to our nice spring weather? Right now, we're 34 in Marquette, 49 in Chicago, and there is a wind chill knocking about 5 or even 10 degrees off your current temperature out there across the area. Big changes here across the region. Detroit, Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, you are all feeling it. More than 20 or nearly 25 degrees colder right now than you were yesterday at this time. So we are looking at some big changes here across the area temperature-wise here. Not sure what happened to my, here we go, to my maps. High pressure, the reason why we're blaming it. It's a cold high that's building in. Some cooler air has been surging in really across the area. And it's the reason why right now actually in Colorado, we're going to get 10 to 20 inches of snow up above 10,000 feet. Not that unusual, but there is plenty of cold air to go around, and we're going to be looking at midweek here at least. Here temperatures remain well below average across the area. So it's going to take a couple of days to warm up. I mean, you look at a place like Denver in the 40s for you today, and we'll see temperatures remaining below average as we get you all the way through the rest of this week. And Thursday is finally the day that we'll start to see these below average readings not be as far below average for some of you, but really it's going to take till the weekend to get folks to warm up across this area. Morning lows are going to be part of the story as well. Chris, here a lot of chilly starts, and some places still have frost advisories. Chris, over all that hail just got dumped out of those storm clouds in Texas, Chris. I mean, what a mess yesterday. Yeah, certainly a mess. And Jen, what's cool about hail, though, if you think about it, it gives you a clue into our atmosphere. Because you're on the ground, it's not below freezing where you are. Right? But somewhere in the atmosphere, it's cold enough to have some frozen water, some ice, hail in this case, coming down to the ground. And it looks like snow. I always tell kids when I go to school, where I talk to kindergartners, say, hey, it might be snowing at the top of that thunderstorm, and they love that kind of thing. We got more of this kind of stuff today here as we continue to follow what's happening for you across the nation. Thanks for staying with us on Weather Center Live. I'm Jen Carfagno. And I'm Chris Warren. We are tracking once again the threat for more. Chris, we're going to talk more about that severe risk. You showed that warning. We are looking at a large area today in the red zone, which includes Amarillo, Lubbock, Midland, San Angelo again. Hail, like we saw yesterday, damaging winds are possible. There is an isolated tornado threat, mainly up into the Texas Panhandle. But we take a look at the full areas that we could see some thunderstorms. This yellow outlines the areas where we have the greatest available energy, where the convective potential is the highest. We overlay that with the areas where we're going to have some upper level wind energy, either where the winds are increasing with height and also where they're turning a bit with height as well. And it's across portions again of the Texas Panhandle and West Texas that we will again see that risk today. You overlay them, that's really where we're going to see the larger risk of tornadoes. And it's still not large in the grand scheme of things. It's a 3 out of 10 on our Torcon for today. Hail, damaging winds, and also flooding rain is going to be our biggest risks for today with the severe weather in Texas. Now, right now, the severe thunderstorm warning for Crosby, Dickens, and Garza County. This goes until 10:15 local time. Could be some hail with that storm as it continues to track off to the north and east. And there's going to be a lot more of this today. We're not likely to see a lot of breaks in the weather. You might get a break, but then there's going to be more storms out there that do fire up through the day today. And we can show you what we're expecting the radar to look like into the afternoon. And you can see just the showers continuing to pop, the thunderstorms continuing to pop and move throughout this area as we get you right into the evening. Dallas, you got a break yesterday, not today. Oklahoma City, we're likely to see some storms in the area as well. And not the only part of the country that's busy, Chris. And then, of course, there's the situation with the flooding rain. Much of the southern plains, including Texas, has seen days and days of heavy rain, leading to the flash flood warnings, the high water rescues, and several road closures. Now, believe it or not, it is not over. We've got at least 2 more waves of storms set to move in. So joining us now on the phone is Nick Hampshire, the lead forecaster with the National Weather Service in San Antonio, Texas. Nick, thanks so much for joining us. In terms of rainfall, what are you expecting across your... Yeah, I've heard. I actually have not does.
It's really good.
Yeah, great shows. So that's on. We want to talk, that's on this evening, but we want to talk what's going on for you. A little earlier this morning, we were showing folks what it looks like when debris becomes a projectile, like a 2x4 launched at a sliding glass door. How far does it go? What happens to it when it finally stops?
Jim Cantori spoke to Chris Mullen earlier on AMHQ, who is the expert on scene, so to speak, at the State Farm Research Lab in Bloomington, Illinois, where they are testing siding and roofing, among other things as well, trying to simulate what the power of tornadoes.
Swim team practices, everything was canceled, right, because of that lightning in the area. And it's obvious when you're in a thunderstorm and there's lightning that it's a risk. But did you know that even if there's sunshine out there, you can still get struck if there's a thunderstorm in the distance? It's called the bolt from the blue. You can be 10, 15 miles, maybe even 25 miles away and get struck by lightning. That's the bolt from the blue. It doesn't have to be that far for a lightning bolt to go out of the cloud all the way across 10, 15 miles and strike.
Right, because say I'm standing right here and I look up, nothing but blue skies, and maybe there's some buildings in front of me, or there's some trees, or I'm just kind of chilling, laying down, catching some rays. Exactly. But there's a thunderstorm.
And coming out of that thunderstorm, sometimes out of the anvil, and you get this lightning bite that can go.
It can come get you.
There it goes.
Just like that.
I'm trying to strike you for 10 minutes here. No, easily 10 to 15 miles away. Yeah. Again.
Like 3 or 4 times. Just for
still
good measure.
standing. He's still standing. It's happened as far as 25 miles, but it can happen, and that's why we are always very concerned about not being outside. When you can hear thunder, you need to make sure that you are indoors. When thunder roars, go indoors. Now there are more common ways to be struck by lightning here, and it's always a concern, right? That's why folks come inside, and we have folks come inside when there is that risk.
Let's take a look at that video from Tom again.